there. My name is Briar. Well, technically my name is Brianna, but I've been using Briar on social media since college, so might as well claim it for my own. Today I wanted to share a little bit about me and my journey to be here, sitting in front of a camera, filming a video for YouTube about writing and trying to start an AuthorTube channel. Because why not, basically? So first off, I just want to say that I have followed AuthorTube for years. Probably as long as it's been a thing. And before AuthorTube, I followed BookTube. In fact, in 2015, I tried to start a BookTube channel. Turns out I don't read nearly enough, and that was a weird time in my life that I probably shouldn't have been doing anything frontward facing on social media. That channel still exists somewhere. You could probably find it if you really tried. I don't suggest doing so because, like I said, that was a weird time in my life. But anyway, on to what brought me here today. I decided to try AuthorTube because today, now, this time in my life, I have decided that I don't want to be writing into a void anymore. I don't want to be writing words that no one is going to read but me and maybe my writing group. I am actually starting on a journey to be published. Whether that means traditionally published, self-published, I'm keeping my options open, hybrid, that's cool. Maybe I'll do that. We're figuring it out. We're just gonna see what the future brings and do the best that we can. But let's take a step back. Something timey-wimey, way back in time to a baby Briar who had absolutely no idea what the hell she was doing. That's still true. I still have no idea what I'm doing. But this was when I was young and dumb and dumber. You know, we all learn through life, so things are happening. I have learned things now, but way back when I knew nothing. So let's go back to her. High school. That was a bad time for everybody, wasn't it? No? Just me? That was a bad time. So actually, even before high school, I think when I was 12, I discovered the world of fan fiction on the internet. I discovered Sailor Moon fan fiction, and suddenly no one else was allowed to use the computer in my house because we had one desktop computer, and I wanted it. We also had dial-up internet, and if anybody wanted to make phone calls, no, I'm on the internet reading fan fiction. Or I would copy and download it and then be on the computer without the internet. These were sad times, weren't they? So I started reading fan fiction. In middle school, I started writing fan fiction of my own in little notebooks. And in high school, I finally got the confidence to post my first fan fiction onto the internet. Now here's a caveat. Still to this day, I read fan fiction. And still to this day, I hate it when I'm pulled into a story and I really enjoy it and then it just is discontinued. Or it hasn't been updated in a year. And then when it does get updated, I've forgotten all about it and I don't care anymore. So I made a promise to myself, tiny baby high school me, that I was only going to post works on fan fiction that I had finished. So the longest thing I ever posted on the internet was 500 words. I got some good reviews from that. I got some good comments. I was starting to build a community that I then graduated from high school and abandoned that community and was like, oh, for shame, I wrote fan fiction. I mean, it's not good, but again, it's still on the internet. You could probably find it. I don't know if I went by Briar at that point. I honestly don't remember. After high school, I went on to university. I went straight to a 4-year university. I was lucky that way. And I made a friend who was also a writer. And I was like, oh, other people of the internet. This is interesting. And she introduced me to NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. You should write a whole novel, 50,000 words in 30 days of November. You know, right after midterms and lead up to finals and all of these projects and papers, but you should write 50,000 words of fiction in the month of November. And I was like, yeah! I'm gonna do it by hand! That was bad. I mean, I did it. I did not write 50,000 words, but I wrote words. I filled 2 of those college-bound, solid color notebooks that you can get from Staples or Walmart for $1 during back-to-school season. I filled 2 of those with handwritten story of some sort of portal fantasy that had way too many characters. Still my weakness is way too many characters, but working on it, getting better, improving. That's the whole goal of life. Get better, learn more things. I knew nothing, and I tried to do that, and it was a bad idea. I still have that novel. I still have those notebooks somewhere of my first attempt at NaNoWriMo back in my wee baby days when I was 18 years old. I don't want to read that. I feel like it was bad. It was probably bad. But that was my introduction to NaNoWriMo. And I immediately decided I was never doing that again because it was a mess. I was a mess. It was my first year of university. I was a total mess. I had no idea what was going on. But I decided to write a novel. Do it. Try it. I mean, might as well. What are you going to lose? I only lost a little bit of time and probably got a lot of hand cramps trying to handwrite so many words. So many words. But it was fine. It was fun. It was my first experience writing with a community because my friend was also writing and there were other people on campus writing, and suddenly there was a community of writers around me, and I got to take a lot of awesome creative writing classes at that university and meet a whole lot of awesome people like poets, and there was a poetry slam at my school fairly frequently, probably too frequently, and it was cool. It was a very creative environment that I managed to find myself in, and I will never regret that. But I did not ever try NaNoWriMo again until my final year of university, when I used it as a way to sort of like encourage me to write more for my thesis and whatever. Like I had to write my capstone. Why did I forget that word? I had to write my capstone project, and I was going to write it on something about fiction writing and fan fiction and things like that. I hadn't quite discovered it at that point, but I used NaNoWriMo to collect my thoughts, to write in different projects and see what stuck. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall, and eventually I landed on writing a capstone project about comparing authorship and the act of authorship in original fiction and fan fiction. And I promptly lost that project after I turned it in, and it was 75 pages, and I don't have any evidence that I ever did it. But it started with NaNoWriMo. And I actually won NaNoWriMo that year. I wrote 50,000 words in November. Admittedly, it was a lot of different projects all coming in together, but I wrote 50,000 words. So that was cool, and I proved to myself that I could do it. And then I never did it again. I tried it the year after I graduated, but I was a mess after I graduated from college because I was kind of one of those people that had defined myself by college and school. And so I immediately jumped into a master's program because I didn't know what to do with myself if I wasn't in school. And then I got a job, and I was doing a job, full-time job, working, teaching, and working on my master's degree in English, which I got. So I have a master's degree in English. But no, that first year after college, I was like, NaNoWriMo sucks. You shouldn't do it. It's bad for your mental health. And I still stand by that I don't like a lot of the talk that goes around NaNoWriMo, like all the separate yourself, don't have a social life, focus on your words, and do absolutely nothing but write for the whole month unless you have to work. Dislike. I don't like that. That's a terrible mental state to put yourself in, and I don't approve of it. But a couple years later, I finished my master's program. I got a stable job. I got a writer's group of friends around me. And in 2017, I was like, I'm going to try this again. Rewind back to the beginning of 2017, I had started a new project. I had started a YA fantasy about a girl in high school. It's her last year of high school, and she is a werewolf hunter, and she's trying to get out of the werewolf hunting life and things like that. But of course, it's a YA fantasy, so werewolves happened, and she had to fight them, and it was fun. And come November of 2017, I had written 30, 40, 50,000 words of this story already over the course of several months, and I was like, I want to finish this. So I spent November working on that project. I was a rebel that year, and it was great. And I got 50,000 words towards this story, and I still wasn't finished. And it was like 100,000 words by this point, and I still wasn't finished. And right at the end for me is like the hardest part. So it took me another several months to actually finish that draft. But in the end of September of 2018, I finished my first novel. It was a first draft. It was over 120,000 words. It was probably not that good. Like, I've gone through and reread it and edited it since and done some work on it. And I mean, it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't good. So, but it was the first thing that I ever finished. And, you know, a lot of people on the author tube space, in the writer space, say, like, as soon as you finish your first one, it, like, opens the doors and you realize you can write a full novel manuscript, and then you do it again. So I finished that at the end of September. I used October to get my thoughts together on this other idea that had been percolating in my brain that year. And in November of 2018, I started and finished a novel during NaNoWriMo. I wrote, it was probably about 52,000 words. It was kind of short, but it was another YA fantasy novel. And I wrote it in the month of November in NaNoWriMo. And at the end of 2018, I had 2 completed manuscripts. When at the beginning of 2018, I had 0. At the end of 2018, I had 2 completed manuscripts. They weren't good. Both of them went through massive edits. But they were done. You can edit. Done. You can't edit the ether. So I was really proud of myself at the end of that year. And I was like, yes! 2 years in a row, I've won NaNoWriMo. I wrote 50,000 words in the month of November. I wrote consistently pretty much the whole year. I had done a lot, and I was really proud of myself. And then in 2019, my job kind of got really hectic and crazy, and I was going really, really crazy. But I did it again. In November of 2019, I had an idea. This was actually the first time I pantsed a NaNoWriMo. I had an idea that hit me like October 30th, and I was like, cool, yeah, let's try that. And I pantsed a novel. And it was probably about 45,000 words when it was done, because I was also editing my werewolf story with that as well. But I did it. I did another NaNoWriMo. I wrote another 50,000 words in that month, and I finished another manuscript. And then 2020 happened. Guess who didn't do NaNoWriMo in 2020? At all. No writing happened in 2020. I left my job. I moved home. I got a new job that required me to move again. I got to November. I could not have the energy to write if you had given me a caffeine pill every day. I had no energy. So I took the year off. I didn't do NaNoWriMo last year. And that was probably a really good choice for my mental health. But now, it's 2021, and I've got shit to do. I've got things that I want to do. I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to continue writing just for myself and a couple of close friends. I want to be published. So that's what I'm doing. 2021 has been the year of me trying to get published. I entered some author mentorship programs like Author Mentor Match and Write Mentor and Pitch Wars, doing all that stuff, trying all that. We'll see what happens. I've started querying agents with the book that I wrote in 2018, which I don't think I mentioned it, but that is a story about like a parallel world where people have magic, but they get magic by making a blood sacrifice allegiance with angels and demons to borrow their magic to use in our world while the angels and demons exist in a separate world. And that one, I really like that story. That one is like really close to my heart, and I think there's still a lot of work that could be done for it, but it's as close to finish as I can get it, so I started querying it. I've so far gotten 3 rejections, but that's part of life. And then I looked back at what I wrote in 2019, what I wrote in my last NaNoWriMo that I won, and I reread it, and it's not bad, and I've got a lot of ideas. So I decided that this NaNoWriMo, I'm going to write the sequel to that story. I'm editing it now. My Preptober is going to be editing this story. Editing. I don't know how to say that word. Editing? But for October, I'm going to edit and rewrite that book 1 so that in November I can write book 2, which I already have lots of ideas for. And hopefully, maybe, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I'm going to try to develop this into a book series that I can self-publish. That is my goal with this one, that I'm going to self-publish this story. It is about a group of teens who, well, early teens, they're like 8th grade. They go to a school-mandated science camp in the woods where they have to go and spend a week with their school, their class, and they meet some magic. They meet a man in the woods, mysterious man in the woods who gives them magical powers that they had inside them all along, kind of dealio. Think Power Rangers. And, of course, they start using their magic, and they become the targets of a magic-eating cult. This thing that's existed since time immemorial. And they have to battle this magic-eating cult in order to keep their magic. And there's a lot of characters, and I really love all of them, and they're really cool, and they have I have so many plans for the future of this story, and I hope that any of the stories that I've described to you sound interesting. And if they do, maybe you would want to stick around and see what I'm going to be doing on this journey towards sharing my work. Because that's the whole point of writing, is to share. To share what you're writing, not just to hold it close to your chest and hope that someone publishes it when you're dead. That's not the point. The point is to share it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my demon magic story traditionally published, maybe. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, see what happens. And I'm working on this science camp story that I want to self-publish. I want this to be a book that I publish and share with the world because it's fun and it's interesting, and I see a lot of potential in it. I've still got to get better. Like, there is a lot that I've got to fix and do better, but I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of my writing, and that's why I decided now is the time to start an AuthorTube. Now is the time to share where I'm at, what I'm writing with you. So I hope something I've said sounds interesting, that you have some thoughts or ideas or something to share in the comments or anywhere else, or that it just makes you curious enough to stick around. So I'm hoping that I will have videos live every Friday. That is my goal for at least the month of October. And maybe we'll see what happens in November, but I want to have a video every Friday here on Briar.Writes on YouTube. I have a linked Instagram account that is also Briar.Writes. So if you want to follow me on there, I can't guarantee that I will be uploading regularly. I'm trying. I have a schedule. I have a plan. I'm bad at plans, bad at following through, but I'm really excited about this. I'm also really anxious. I'm kind of like an anxious potato. So if anything I've said is appealing to you, please like and subscribe. Talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, what you'd be interested in. If there's anything that I mentioned that you think that you have more questions about that I can make a video on. My next video is probably going to be one of those AuthorTube newbie tags or something, and that'll be next Friday. So like, subscribe, bell notifications, I don't know, do the things, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Distracting me. There she goes. Off into the ether now that I'm done filming. And this girl don't care. This girl don't care.